Right, Death. When I worked in the broadcasting industry, traveling around the world, uh, installing and selling and marketing software to run a TV station from the top down and around, I never made any sauce over that to cover up the broadcast industry later, did I? Death. No. Oh, no, you didn't. No, because I didn't know I was doing that. I was unaware that I was creating something outside of my awareness. So all the algorithms and source for the broadcasting industry that were created from me doing a role as a regional manager Asia Pacific to market this system, right? I never created any source for it. So let's talk about this company, right? I worked at Sky TV, right? So when I was working at Sky TV, I never made any source there, right? That overreached anything, right? And when I was working at Enterprise, that took over Sky, the Sky TV was using an Enterprise system, right? And I was working in the sales ledger, doing the invoices and credit control, right? And so I was in that department on Lotus 123 IBM machine, right? And next door was like You've Been Framed and stuff at the Osterley in Hounslow, right? So I was there and working there. And I never made any sauce over that, right? And then when Enterprise offered me a job because I knew the system better than they did, I accepted it, right? And I worked at Enterprise, okay? And went all over the world selling this system that did program acquisitions, scheduling, log editors, and transmissions files for the transmitters and tape libraries and all that sort of shit, right? And there was different sort of algorithms for different stations that wanted different things, right? So the MTV had a beats kind of shit thing, right? So anyway, I lived in Singapore and we installed the MTV system there, and I went to Hong Kong. I lived in Bangkok for a bit. I went to Indonesia with it. I went to Kuala Lumpur with it. I went all over the bloody place. Sydney, New Zealand, everywhere with it, right? And was marketing and selling this broadcast system, right? So I guess they knew who I was, and I was being tricked as I was going along because it was all staged, right? And they were all grabbing their little, this is how we're going to do it, right? And I was just so, oh yeah, that's a great idea, off you go, right? And so then Enterprise got taken over by Boss Associates. So the systems that Enterprise were making then was the landmark system that had come over from America that we didn't really use, apart from I think one of the mainstream channels used it, but that was it, the landmark system. And then there was the AS400 system, the main one that I was doing with this guy called David Parker, who knew a lot about it, and he had a company called Dapper, and that's where this connection of DARPA might be, right? They might have put us two in some kind of shit, right, together, so we got out, right? So he was actually a fiance, so we're detached, and nothing's relevant there, right? My relativity fell away from working with David Parker and any of the Enterprise lot and any of the Boss lot that Boss took over, and they were creating their own system, and I kind of got asked to work for them, so I was like a bit of a traitor, but Enterprise was a bit of a dinosaur, and it was pissing me off, and they were like more dynamic. And I thought, oh, that sounds good because they seem more dynamic, and it was. So I worked for Boss Associates in Slough, and they were designing a system called Vision, and they were working on that, and we just so yeah, so it's a bit confusing now. Well, my time is feeling confused about this. yeah, so we were selling this new system, right? And but I was selling the enterprise system before that, right? And then we were selling this other system, right? And that was called Vision. But it wasn't part of the Vision in New Zealand. That was a different company, but we were working with them too, right? And talking to them. And we went to TV9 and TV New Zealand and TV12, I think it was. And SABC South Africa. I was there for a while. I like going to South Africa because it was nice there. But the whites weren't that nice, but the blacks were nice. And they didn't like it because I wore trousers. And not many women wore trousers. And it was kind of, they didn't like women much there. It was kind of very male orientated. And I caused a riot in an empty pub. Well, it wasn't an empty pub, but there was a bit of a hoo-ha because somebody upset my partner. Well, it wasn't my partner. It was just a friend, right? And me, David, and Kurt were in this bar, and it was great. And someone pulled a stool away and made him fall down, right? And it was like, yeah, right. We'll just ignore that bit, right? And then they spilled a drink on him, so it was obviously they were brewing, right, for a fight. So I decided there's not going to be a fight here today. And I went like this. I got my drink and I went, right, that's enough. And I had a big proof, and the whole pub went quiet. I think they, and anyway, everyone settled down afterwards, and I had my little rant and told them off. And then these two lads came up to me and said, you want us to sort them out outside? I said, yeah, that would be lovely, thank you. And they did. So there was a big fight outside. They took it outside. So we weren't involved with it. They just wanted to have a fight. But they picked on the wrong people because we didn't want to have a fight, right? So they appreciated that. They respected that. And they went outside and had a fight. Like grown-ups, right? Right. So, anyway, going back to all this shit, right? So, all the sauce that I made for that, right? And Cologne, I went to Cologne for that. And that was weird, that one, because I did a business analysis, right? That got completely rejected by the sales guys at Enterprise, right? And I was like, why did you reject my business analysis of what they wanted, right? And make them do what you want them to do, right? But because they took it in the shadows, now I see that, right? I see they took that in the shadows, and they it was auctioning brakes. So it was being able to auction the brakes so that the highest price could get the brake, and they could get better money for each advertising brake because the brakes were auctioned, right? And it was just a different way of working. But they probably made source for it, right? So it's probably there because I did a business analysis for it and wrote it all down, right? And did a whole report. So, and also I did a lot of the documentation for the system, right? About how to use it and shit, right? So all of that's got to go if they've used that to overreach us in the quantum realm to make a code on that, right? To overreach the AS400 code and the code that we have here that's a bit antiquated, but it's doing the job, wasn't it, properly and not being manipulated, right? So all the source that I might have made over the journey of that, which was probably 1990 to 1999, right? Well, I was kind of cancelled in 98, and I got into a domestic circumstance. So they threw me under a bus and put me in domestics. And they cancelled me behind me by pretending that they didn't balance the sales ledger with the because what happened was Enterprise took Boss over. So after Boss had been getting all this dynamic new code and all that out of me, right? Enterprise took Boss over, right? So I think they might have been connected in some way anyway, right? And then when Enterprise took Boss back, there was a Columbine from Colorado. Columbine, I think, took over Enterprise, and then I think Harris took over Columbine, right? So I think that's how it worked. But I think the landmark system was the Unix-based system, and I was working mainly on the AS400 system, but there was another system, a Quantel system, which only two had, and that was Sky TV and Sunrise Radio, and we supported that, but only me and Kowalski knew how to use that, right, and fix it if it went wrong, right. So, but Kowalski was better on it, but he went to Australia and worked it in Australia, right. I quite liked him, but I didn't tell him, because I don't tell people if I like them, because, you know, it makes you vulnerable, doesn't it? So, yeah, anyway. So funny he was called Kowalski, right? I know, right? So, anyway, so that was the Quantel system, but that was an orange light on a brownie background, right? So it's a bit weird, because it wasn't the green light, it was the orange light, right, system, right? I know you had to go like that to get it on, and it's a shit system. But the traffic department at Sky used that sometimes for something. I don't know what they were using it for, because they had the new one to use. So I don't know why they were still using it for something, because the odd occasion they'd ring up and ask about it. And then the other weird thing was them having Zulu time, and they wanted to have the Zulu time in the system, and we're like, well, what's Zulu time? You know, where they shoved it in anyway. But then the parameters on the AS400 system, right, had the timecode parameters. So if they've used the timecode parameters on the enterprise system for prattling about with a quantum clock, right, because they probably could with that in those parameters. So you see that is where they probably would have got the algorithms from for doing all the time manipulation for the log editors and the files that go to transmission, right? So maybe that's what it is, right? But I'm not doing customer services for that anymore. Like, I left that like 14 years ago, right? I mean, I could set up my own TV station without blinking if I wanted to, right? Because I think I'd know how to do that, because of you've been knowing how the tech worked and supporting it and selling it and marketing it, and you know, I knew it like a lot, but I didn't know how to program it. I mean, I could do an AS400 query. I was quite good at that, but I couldn't. I knew how to debug it. I knew how to make it go wrong and get it fixed if I was bored. But you know, I was a program tester and a super user, and I trained super users, but I was never a programmer, because I didn't need to do that, because we had programmers, right? So I was more an analyst, right, and a support worker, and I used to get to deal with all the grumpies, because that was, you know, I was good at dealing with grumpy people, because that was just a life education, right? Dealing with grumpy people, you know. Yeah, I deal with grumpy people a lot. So, you know, when I worked at the King's Head, I'm not still in it, right? You know, I was a head receptionist. I was the youngest head receptionist for Trust House Forte. Yeah. I had 5 staff. I was only like, 18, 19, something like that. And flight refueling, you see, I did lots of orders on the teletext, right? And we were working on the facsimile and the comms department, right? And we were buying parts for the flight refueling. Cobham it's called now, right? Brook Road, Wimborne, right? And we were buying parts, so we would be punching in all of the code to buy the parts, but it was in small formation of words, because we shortened the words to make a cheaper call, right? So all of that, what was that? You know, what did that go to, right? When we were pumping in these orders, right, was there something translating that into something else for someone else, for some other plane or simulation or war or something, right? So can we look into all of that about my whole life, about what overreached my life? I mean, what lie code did I make during my life that I'm not aware of, and get rid of it? As simple as that, right? Right. Thanks, Dad. That's it.